What does it take to make workshops work? And how can we facilitate collaboration that sticks and leads to results? My name is Mirjam Leunissen, and with the Workshops Work podcast, I am on the mission to find the magic ingredients that make workshops work. Today with me on the show is Mirjam Leunissen, and we speak about embodiment and how the ability to feel our sensation will help us to become better facilitators and better coaches. So stay tuned. And please don't forget to scroll down to the show notes to find out more about Mirjam and to subscribe to the show if you enjoy it. And just a quick message that the Workshops Work podcast is about to retire. I'm recording the final episodes until the end of this year, December 2025. And then from January next year, 2026, it will be rebranded as Unprofessionalism. I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you for listening. Mirjam, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Disclosure to the audience who's listening. Mirjam is my fiancée, and I had a no-show of another podcast guest this morning. So the universe brought us together to finally record. It has been on my mind already, but you didn't call yourself a facilitator yet.
Yes, I think we were thinking of this for about a year, and only last week I called myself a facilitator.
Yeah, so let me
with confidence.
So let me ask the formal question. When did you start calling yourself a facilitator?
Yeah, a week ago, last Friday.
What happened?
I realized that this was the first time that I truly had the capacity to see what's going on with the group and not only focus on my own methods and my own being, how I am in the moment.
So the label of a facilitator comes in as soon as you can shift the focus from yourself to the group to be really in service?
Yeah, I think that's what it would translate to. So I think before I was still struggling very much with myself to manage myself and know where I'm going, and now I can be there for the group and follow their process more and following the flow more.
Nice. Sounds like graduation.
Yes, it felt like an exam. I passed an exam. I graduated, and it feels. I think the other thing about it is it really feels easy now. Well, before it felt like I have to work, and now it feels easy.
How do you notice the difference?
Less thinking, less preparation, interestingly enough, and more trust, more going with the flow, and no need to stick to an agenda. Like, yes, I do prepare. I have something in mind where I want to take people, and then I'm very happy to let go of that as things arise. And I think before I would then get stressed, like, oh my God, the group is going in a different direction from what I thought we would be doing.
Yeah.
And now there's ease, like, oh, then something will come to mind that serves the purpose in the moment.
So trusting your inner capacity. And somehow also trusting the group that they will guide you and themselves in a direction that is helpful and that you don't have to carry all the weight.
Yes. Yeah, so it's no longer in my hands. I follow. And the trust in, I have it all already. I don't need to prepare and think, and the right thing will bubble up in the moment. To believe that it's all in me already, what I need to bring. And if it's not there, then it's a learning moment for me, and I realize nobody dies.
Hopefully.
Yeah. In the context where I facilitate, normally people don't die. So I think it's also that, to trust that it doesn't need to be perfect. And it's also my own learning, as, we will be learning all of our lives.
Because it might be just a good moment then also to pause and to see what comes up. And
yeah.
I would like, before going forward or deeper, I would like to take a step back. Because you're coming from a very different field. You have a PhD in physics, and you came a long way from science into embodiment coaching. So I have two questions. One is, what is embodiment coaching?
Mm-hmm.
because I think it, for many people, still has a flair of woo-woo and spiritual. And maybe it is. Mm-hmm. We hear that many physicists are very spiritual. But what have you learned from physics or from your life in science about the work you're doing today?
Yeah, so these are not two different questions, right? They are actually unraveling one big hairball of making sense of what's going on in life and inside yourself and with the world. And maybe let's start with what's embodiment coaching. So I did a coaching training, which was, I would say, sort of the what you would expect of a coaching training, like learning all the questions and the talking tools and sitting in a chair facing each other. And I did it. And first of all, I found it very stressful to be stuck to my chair and talk with someone for an hour and a half. And it just didn't feel like it was complete, like something was missing. So I continued to explore, and I wound up with embodiment coaching. And I think what I really learned there about embodiment is, first of all, the awareness of how you are in the moment. Because when you're stressed, you cannot think. So you become stupid when you're stressed. So I think a large part of coaching, people come with a problem that they are stressed about, because otherwise they wouldn't need coaching.
Yeah, makes
so
sense.
A large part of the coaching starts with keeping people in a zone where they can think clearly. And this is very embodied. So stress is a bodily response, and you can also undo it again. So you can use the body to reduce the stress, and then you can think clearly again. So this is one part of embodiment coaching. And then the other is becoming aware of your patterns, everything that you have been practicing all of your life, in how you show up and how that shows up through the body, and then seeing what you like about that. Is it stuff that you want to continue doing, or is that stuff that gets in your way and gets you stuck, and then you might want to start practicing something else?
And I think this is something where I would like to dig deeper, because I think it sounds, it can sound very abstract, maybe for those who are not familiar with it. So we can dig deeper into that. The first part, what I'm taking away, that embodiment coaching is basically nervous system regulation.
Yeah, so there's a large component which is nervous system regulation. It's awareness of how you are right now. And in current society, we are very much invited to not be aware, to forget about our bodies and how we feel and how we are. And then it's only when we close our computer at the end of the day that we realize how stressed we are. And then we need an hour of yoga.
I just came back from a 10-day silent meditation. It took me 4 days in silence to just calm down my busy brain.
Yeah. And how nice is it if you can microdose that, so that you have these moments throughout the day where you are aware, like, oh, my stress level is rising. And then you take 2 minutes to bring it back to a more pleasant state.
Instead of accumulating it over a year and then sitting for 10 days.
And then sitting for 10 days, which is also very nice. And I think that practice serves another purpose.
Yeah.
But to use on a daily basis to manage your stress, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And what just came to my mind is, I heard you speaking, is that how are you? It's a question that we get asked, and that we ask so many times per day. And very rarely we actually take time to answer it.
Yeah.
It's always an auto response. Good, thank you, how are you? Or we don't even answer it. We write it in an email. And I think I know 2 people who actually respond to my emails stating how they are doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's also a practice that we missed, that it's actually something that we can sense into. How do you know how you are?
Yeah. For me, by tuning into the body. So when you ask me that question and you know this, you will get a very detailed response of every muscle tension in any body part that there is. I will say, like, okay, so my left leg feels relaxed. My right toe is a bit cramped up. My shoulder feels sad. And my face is a bit confused. So that's how I go about it, to do it sort of bottom up. Like I do a body scan. Not very consciously, but I sort of detect what stands out, and that's what I give you back. And then after that, I might try to make sense of it, like put it in the context of, and this is, I'm feeling this. I'm noticing my legs are heavy because I'm sad, and it's because something happened this week. But I start bottom up, and I think we tend to go more top down, where someone asks, how are you doing? And then people say, I'm so busy with this project. So I guess
it's what you are doing, not how you are doing.
Yeah, right? So then it starts more top down, like, okay, this and this happened this week, so I must be feeling this way. And I have learned to take the other route, and it didn't come naturally. I think it is our natural state, so I think we are born as feeling beings where we don't have the words to say what we feel and think, so we interact with the world in a very sensing way. So we notice how we are and what we like and dislike from the sensations in our body. And I think we unlearn it, and then you have to relearn it. So I think we get disconnected, and I was very much disconnected in physics. This comes back to your earlier question. I was only using my very rational thinking, verbalizing brain, and then to relearn, to notice what's going on in the body, and then find the words for it. But first to really notice what's there before starting the thinking and the talking.
And I will not ask the question what made the transition, because I can imagine that's a very interesting story, and it would get us on a very different trajectory. That's maybe something for unprofessionalism.
Okay, yes.
What is it that you have learned, or that you put into your backpack during your career as a researcher and as a scientist, that you're still applying now?
Yes. I think for me it's really distilling concepts. So to collect a lot of data points, observations, then recognizing the patterns and trying to figure out what the underlying workings are. And I think I even apply this to my own personal development. So I've noticed in the past I had like an unexplained fear, and then I didn't know where it came from. To start paying attention, like, okay, how does it show up in my body? Where do I feel it? And what is the context? So the first time it's a miracle, like, where did this come from? And then the second time it's like, oh, I think I've seen this one before. And then the third time it's a pattern. To learn about yourself in this way, because our emotions don't come out of the blue. There's usually a pattern of, oh, there was a past experience where you may have felt threatened. And then any new situation that resembles that can bring up the same fear, even though it's safe now. To start paying attention to all these data points, like, what are the patterns in the data points connected to yourself? So I think that's a very analytical, scientific way of looking at yourself.
And what I hear is basically that you're feeling the fear in your body. So if you would only pay attention to, oh, I'm afraid of the situation, then you're only focusing on the story around it. And then you might look at other stories. But if you connect to the body sensation that you feel, then you can get to the deeper root causes, because you look at other moments where you had the same body sensation.
Yeah, so for me it helps to disentangle it and put it into context, I think. Because I think in the past I would think, okay, I'm afraid of, I was actually afraid of asking people questions. This is what I discovered.
Unfortunate for a coach.
This is what I discovered when I did my first coaching training. I found it so scary to ask people questions. And then I would have believed that, and I did believe that in that moment, like, okay, apparently I'm really afraid of asking people questions. I'm never going to be able to do this. Until I started to, first of all, isolate the sensations from the story. So to really just feel the fear and then leave out all the story around it, because then I can work with the fear. Right? I can regulate myself. I can calm down the fear. I can see what I need to calm it without going into all the stories.
So this means calming down your pulse, for instance, because fear usually comes with a...
Or giving myself a hug. Just looking for what's comforting right now, and not going into the story of, okay, it's scary to ask questions, or I have to avoid this situation, blah, blah, blah. And also to start to see, where does this fear come from? Because my rational mind could see that I was not in danger, right? I'm just having a conversation with a person, and they are not going to attack me. So where does this fear come from? So to decouple it from the current situation and to start looking more into previous experiences where maybe there was a reason to feel fear when I asked the question. And then I realized, this comes from my family context where I was not supposed to ask questions, but just do what my parents want me to do. And it was dangerous to ask a question because then I would have an angry parent and I would feel rejected and unsafe. So I think really tuning into the sensation of the fear, I could also feel like, okay, this is not the fear of the current adult having a conversation. This is more of a little child who needs a protective hug. So I think to really connect to the fear instead of acting on it, but to really start to be with it and feel it, and then what does it actually say and what does it need? It really brought me back to a very different story, which has nothing to do with having coaching conversations. And then I could dissolve it. That's now I can ask questions, right? Because I decoupled it from this old fear.
Yeah, and it's funny because so you were also part of Never Done Before. That's actually how we met.
Yeah, that's also an interesting story, right?
Yeah, and you hated the turn to your neighbor moments.
So which were your flagship.
Yes. So every
signature moment in any meeting. Yeah,
exactly. Every workshop started with the so-called turn to your neighbor moment, where we would have one-on-one breakout rooms.
Yeah,
where I thought, so my idea behind it, and that's what I think most participants also reflected. It creates a sense of safety and belonging and calming down and arriving to the space to just turn around in the virtual space, have a one-on-one conversation with someone else, and then coming back and feeling less alone. And at some point you said that you were terrified of the small group and you preferred the bigger groups, actually.
Yeah, so what really works well for me is if I arrive in a space and I'm in the group and I can just be there for a while with the people and sort of feel it and observe it. And then I decide when I'm ready to speak. And what the turn to the neighbor did for me is that I'm thrown into a breakout room. I don't see the person coming. There's suddenly someone on your screen. This was online. There's suddenly someone on your screen, and then you have to have a conversation for 5 minutes with a person I have not met before. And it was terrifying. And there were many ingredients that went into that. So the fear of not asking questions, right? The fear of asking questions. My nervous system is just shocked when I'm suddenly confronted with a person. I need a moment to settle in and not immediately go into the talking. And I felt a lot of responsibility for carrying that conversation. Another old pattern from my family. So I just felt too responsible for then making this a enjoyable 5 minutes for the other person. So it triggered all of my what I find challenging right at the beginning of the workshop. So I really struggled with it. I was terrified.
And you still did it. You still showed up on time.
Yes, because I also considered it good training, because I realized the more I do this, the more comfortable it starts to feel. So it's also, I think when we feel triggered in a moment or challenged or very far outside our comfort zone, that's also the gift. It's a gift to learn something new, to stretch yourself, provided that it comes in manageable doses. That you don't go into full overwhelm. But if it's like just slightly outside the comfort zone, it's a nice training to build more capacity for dealing with different situations.
Yeah. And there are two paths now that I actually would like to take. One is how to differentiate between you're still in the growth zone, so you're pushed slightly, so you have a small trigger, you feel uncomfortable, and you can still do it.
Yeah.
So how do you notice the difference? And let me also ask the second question, just to put it there, so that we don't forget. Because you mentioned that you felt so much responsibility in the moment. And I think that's something that many facilitators, especially beginning facilitators, feel. And you mentioned that when working with groups.
Yeah.
So how to get rid of that? But maybe we start with the overwhelm, how to distinguish.
Yes, and I would really like to park the phrase how to get rid of that. I like to come back to that one because there's something very specific about that wording. Yeah. So first, how to notice that you're not in overwhelm, or that the participants are not in overwhelm. I think it starts with yourself, first of all, as a facilitator, because if you start to be overwhelmed, then it will radiate, and everybody starts to feel dysregulated. So it starts with first knowing where you are and being able to manage that. So knowing for yourself what the signs are that you're going into overwhelm. So for me, I feel tension around my eyes. I feel tension around my jaw. I think my thinking starts to feel a bit fuzzy. So that's already a clear warning, like overwhelm coming. And then for participants, I would say a good measure is, can they still laugh about it?
Okay, yeah.
When people can laugh about themselves, they are still in a playful space. If you cannot laugh about yourself anymore, then you're full on in survival mode.
Yeah. Yes, it does make so much sense. I haven't thought about it. Yes.
So if you can still laugh about yourself, not take yourself too seriously, laugh about the situation, then I think you're still in a learning zone, even if it's uncomfortable. And laughing is actually a thing that will pop up when people start to feel uncomfortable, because it's a way to regulate stress.
Yeah.
So I think when people are still laughing about it, then it's good. If you're in fight, flight, or freeze, you don't laugh anymore.
And I wonder whether the laughing, usually when we laugh, we shake. And we talked about the gazelle. So a gazelle, when after they run away from the lion and survive, right? After that, they shake to get rid of the stress. And maybe laughing is part of that as well.
Yeah, it can be really regulating for the nervous system. I even think these hysterical, I cannot stop laughing fits are part of that. I had one earlier this week. I had to laugh so hard about something that's actually quite sad with my aging father. But I just had to laugh so hard, and I found it such a relief. And then I can be more compassionate again with the situation instead of starting to feel stressed. So I think, if you still can laugh about yourself, you're still in a good place. And then there's the signs of stress that you can read in someone's body, like the tensing of the face. Maybe people are starting to lean back more, like disengaging from the situation. It's like they are almost leaving, even though they are still there. Eyebrows going up, big eyes, indicating fear. So there's all these little micro signs that start to indicate that someone is starting to be overwhelmed.
Maybe distraction, grabbing the phone, opening different tabs, or doing something. Huh?
So people trying to escape the discomfort by starting to do other things, fidgeting. Also making jokes as a way to escape the situation. So I think it's good if you can laugh about yourself, and sometimes it's also good to invite them to drop that, to try to do things seriously and be with the discomfort, to really feel what a certain exercise does with them, to get familiar with the discomfort, and then to learn how they relate to this situation, to this exercise, because that's where the learning is. If you stay in your happy, comfy zone, maybe you didn't find your learning edge.
Yeah. Interesting. And it's such an interesting space, because we are now navigating between coaching and facilitation. So if I'm in a pure facilitation space, then I might not have the permission from the participants to push them and to ask them to stay in the discomfort individually. Because it's rather a group process, at least in my understanding of what facilitation is. Whereas when you're coming in as a coach, then it's about the individual's growth process. And then such an invitation might be helpful. So I guess here there's the spectrum between coaching, training, facilitation. And then I would say maybe in facilitation, you use the tools of noticing someone else's discomfort and helping them regulate without maybe pointing it out. Like, you don't need to make someone aware, like, oh, I see you're stressed and I'm going to help you regulate. I think this would rather increase the stress level.
To sort of leave them happily unaware, but do the regulation by, even if you just take a sigh out yourself, it helps the group to relax. So you can do like stealth co-regulation. So I think you can still use the tools with them without needing to confront them with it. And then in coaching and training, I would think it's beneficial if people become aware of what the situation does with them, because then they can have, consciously work on their learning in these situations. So I guess the outcome is different. So maybe in a facilitated process, it's more about collaborating as a group, and then it's less important what the individual learning is about themselves, the personal development. And then I would say in coaching and training, I would focus more on the personal insights. What are you learning about yourself? And are these things that serve you, or do you want to change that?
Oh, I love that question.
I think it's also a bridge to your earlier question of how to get rid of.
Yes.
What were we gonna get rid of?
The
responsibility.
Feeling of responsibility, yes.
Yeah. So I would say from a coaching perspective, the more you want to get rid of something, the harder it is.
So it's because you cram.
Yeah, you contract around the problem.
You focus so much on it.
And there's almost like a gripping onto this problem that you want to get rid of. You start to push and pull on it. Something that I like to do as a demo is to make a fist of one of your hands. And then try to open it with the other hand, pulling on it, and then seeing what you do. So I think most people start to resist and clench the hand more. And then if you bring the hand under the closed fist to see what that does. And then in my case, the fist softens a bit and starts to open up.
Yeah.
So to be there with more like a compassionate support, acceptance. So I think this is where, for me, coaching starts, is to first accept what is. To be more kind about it, and then to start to see how can you change it. And it can be beneficial to understand where this sense of responsibility comes from. Like, is there some past experience where this served you to take the responsibility, to bring compassion, like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And then to practice. So a lot of my embodiment coaching is to come up with like small practices that are still in your sort of on the edge of your comfort zone, so that it's not too much, not too little. Like, how can you let go of 10% of the responsibility instead of trying to get rid of the whole responsibility? That's too scary.
Yeah.
To start with, how can you make it 10% less? And then if that feels comfortable, how can you do the next 10% and then the next?
And it brings me back to what you said in the beginning, with the stress level, that it makes us stupid, right? And then, so if we're focused on the problem and we're stressed and in a discomfort zone, our horizon is very narrow.
Yeah. You don't see any other options anymore.
Yeah. And then we're tense, and then it's very difficult.
And if you can relax around the problem, making it less of a big issue, then you start to see more options. It's really opening your field of view, so to say. And there's a very embodied aspect to this as well. So I've done this recently in a workshop about money. I asked people to just say the word money in their native language. And then see what the reflexes in the body, and to show that, to really give it a shape. So this is how you respond to money issues.
Yeah.
And everybody's response is different. And if you are in that response, that's the only option you see. So my only option used to be to save money. That was so embodied from what my family taught me, that I really had these grasping hands. Like, that was my only option. I can only relate to money putting it into my savings account.
Yeah.
If you can change that embodiment around it, you start to see new options. So if I can let go of these gripping hands and soften the arms, now suddenly I can also see, like, I can also spend money on things that are fun, or maybe things that help my growth. And it's really the change in the embodiment changes the thinking. Well, before I could only see one option.
So what you're saying is, when we're thinking about a concept, a problem, an idea, a situation, we embody it, or we do something with our body in terms of posture, which relates to that immediately. So if we want to change our thinking, instead of forcing ourselves to think of this pink elephant, you suggest to change our posture, which will invite new thinking.
Yeah. So instead of trying to change your thinking, because how do you change your thinking?
Yes. I think philosophers have spent many.
Yeah. So how do you change your thinking? That's really hard, but you can change your posture.
Yeah.
And then it changes your thinking. And I think we all have experience with this, but we may not be aware of it, because when do you have your best ideas?
Walking.
Yeah.
Or meditating. Sitting, not thinking.
Yeah.
So in the good meditation when I'm not supposed to think.
Yeah.
Because my body is relaxed and I'm calm, or under the shower.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's when I step away from the desk where I was crunching the problem. As soon as I change my embodiment, the state of relaxation, I have the answers. So I think we know this, but we are not so aware of this.
And it's so true. How often do I sit in front of the computer to come up with a session or a newsletter, and I stare on the blank page, and then I go to the bathroom, and the moment I arrive, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And what you changed in that moment was your embodiment, and then it shifted your thinking. So you can use this, and you can use it very intentionally. Maybe another example that might be familiar for people is there's these. So if you would put people into two boxes, which is very wrong, of course, to do. But sort of the kind of people that are always on, like they're always action, like we're going to solve this. And then there's the kind of people that are like, let's just, see where it goes. And we give it some time. And they're sort of the leaning back, more observing types. And if you pay attention, it's in their embodiment. So the actionable people are sort of leaning forward, and the only options they see is to take action. The laid back people are really laid back, literally, like they are laying back, and the options they see are like, let's maybe, sort of see how it unfolds. And if they take each other's embodiment, they will look at the problem very differently.
This reminds me of an activity that I did with Mark Walsh once, stepping into someone else's walking style.
Yeah.
And so the person who stepped into mine, the feedback she gave me, she almost felt stressed because she had the impression that she needed to do so much and to fix everything.
Yeah.
And I felt happy and relaxed to let my belly pop. And we're like, it feels like holiday.
Yeah. And I like that you bring that up, that even just a small change, like relaxing the belly, can really already change how you feel about things. And then the mastery is to notice what your response is to the situation, like what do you do with your body? And then to shift it if you want to relate to the situation differently.
Yeah. And when I hear you speaking, I noticed that and you mentioned that a couple of times, you're continuously aware of what happens in your body. And I'm coming from a place, and I think you too, where all of our emotions were happening in our head. So I got very angry at my early coaches who asked me, so Mirjam, where do you feel it in your body? I'm like, I feel it right in my head. Why do you ask?
Yeah.
So how do you learn that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the good news is we can all learn that, because I think I was even worse than you. I don't think I felt any emotions at all. I didn't even feel them in my head. I would describe myself as robotic thinking, doing physics, which really worked very well for doing physics.
Yeah, you were very successful.
Yeah. So professionally, I was doing great. I could solve all these complex problems, and I knew how to play the game. Got all the money I wanted. So that worked really well. But then personally, I was not feeling. It sucked. So I was not happy. I really struggled. I struggled with relationships, and I also struggled to manage a research group because that's a very relational thing. So it didn't help that I wasn't feeling anything. So I really didn't feel anything. My body was stiff. So I really had to learn to reconnect. So I don't think the body is disconnected. It's more about where you put your attention. So my attention was very much on my thinking and the outside world. And I had to learn to, at the same time, also bring attention to my body. Mm-hmm. It started very unintentionally by dancing. Mm-hmm. So I started dancing. I was very stiff and stressed, and then someone suggested dancing to just relax a bit. And I started to feel a lot, because movement helps for feeling. So I started to feel a lot in my body, and then it became more intentional. So I tried meditation to feel the sensations in the body, but that was a bit too much, because then I put all my attention on my body and I started to feel everything that I hadn't felt for 3 decades, and that was just overwhelming. So that was too much. I couldn't do it. But what does work for me is to do like check-ins throughout the day. Like so what I did for 2 years, I think, I set a random timer on the phone. There's an app that just gives a ping at random moments, 5 or 10 times a day. And then when it went off, whatever the situation I'm in, I do a very quick scan of my body, from my toes till the top of my head, to see like, okay, what does that feel like there? And I noticed after 2 weeks already that it really started to change, that I became much more aware throughout the day and in any situation, also while talking to other people, how I'm feeling. And then to start to recognize the emotions, because I didn't even have the vocabulary for it, I think. So there's a lot of past history with a family that didn't really teach me what different emotions feel like, or to be comfortable with anger, for instance. I was totally avoiding conflict and anger, and I had to learn what it feels like. So at some point I realized, like, I start to feel hot. My shoulder stands up, and I sort of collected these puzzle pieces, and then I realized, okay, if I have these 3 signs in my body, it's anger. So now I will say I'm angry. But in the past I would say, I start to feel hot and tense and feel like I want to hit someone. It really started there. So I think we can all learn. I don't believe that anybody is truly disconnected from your body, because then you would not live. Because you need to sense your body to just have your normal physiological processes, to know when you got hurt and do something about your wound, and to not get yourself into dangerous situations. So the fear protects you. So I think we all feel. It's just how aware are you of that? Yeah. How much attention can you bring to that? And I think for me, the biggest difference was these little check-ins throughout the day. So I didn't need to do hour-long meditations or intense retreats. Or it's really this daily practice that made for me the biggest shift. And then building the capacity to be with uncomfortable sensations. Because that's, I think, how we start to shift our attention. When things don't feel good, it's nice to be distracted by everything that's going on outside you and your phone and other people, and eating and drinking to numb. So to get comfortable again with the discomfort.
It's so funny. Yeah, that's exactly what they teach at the Vipassana meditation, where you have to sit for an hour and avoid kind of clenching in the discomfort and trying to avoiding it by changing your posture or getting up and doing something else. And at the same time also avoiding to totally lose yourself in the beauty of the pleasurable body sensations.
That's also another trap.
Exactly. Because then you get addicted to it. So
there's 2 responses, right? It's either the grasping, when something feels good, I want more of it, and then you go into addiction. Or it's the resistance, where you want to move away from it and you start to distract yourself. And then indeed to just be in the middle of that. So no grasping and no avoiding, to just observe. So in the end, I think a lot of embodiment coaching, I don't know, I think it's actually you who mentioned this to me. There's a very strong connection to Buddhism. Yes. That they figured out a lot of this. And now we put it into like more founded principles supported by neuroscience, nervous system regulation, and what we learned about healing trauma, past wounds. So I think now there's maybe a very clear scientific understanding, but I think all of this, in some sense, we already knew for thousands of years. And it may be more the illness of current society that we are so disembodied.
Yeah, Gabamati's story. Yeah. I was sitting in the meditation and thinking back to your work. And we're like, Buddha was the first embodiment coach.
Yeah. And also, I think so. So when I started this unintentional journey of connecting with my sensations again, I found it very alien. So I really did feel I'm doing my work and I'm doing physics, I'm doing science. I have this very sort of productive, work-oriented life. And then outside of that, I do things for fun, which is dance. And they felt like two separate boxes. And then dance is considered woo-woo and not useful, and it's not productive. Why do we do that? It's a waste of your time. I really had to carve out time to do that because I wasn't feeling productive. And I think the further I travel, the more it's not two separate things. So we take ourselves everywhere, right? With our brain and our bodies, and you cannot separate the two. And it's for me now basically coming back to being a whole human being. And I think basically coming back to the way you were born, like this feeling, sensing baby who's not thinking of the future or the past. Yeah. And it's just there in the present moment, taking in the world and responding to it. So for me, it feels like coming back to being a whole human and feeling all of it.
And this reminds me of what you said in the very beginning, that you started calling yourself a facilitator last week because you could be in the present moment.
Yeah.
Trusting that you can handle it without worrying about the future.
Yeah.
Or if something doesn't happen as expected.
Yeah. So, stopping the focus on how is it going to go. And I think a very important one for many people is how do other people perceive me? Because I still had a bit of a coping strategy, safety mechanism of if I'm perceived as competent and wise, then at least I'm safe. But if I'm competent and wise, it means that I need to know what I'm doing all the time. So I found a lot of relaxation in I don't need to know, and I don't need to be perceived as competent and wise. I just need to be there. And then everything happens. And I think this was the big shift, that I could drop this fear of I'm not safe if people don't see me as on top of my game.
Yeah.
And once I relaxed around that fear, so the fear disappeared. And then it opens up so much space to just be, because then I'm not busy protecting myself, basically. Then I can really see the other people instead of being busy with protecting myself with all these funny coping strategies.
Yeah. And it's, thank you for bringing that up. You know what's coming now? It's unprofessionalism, right?
Your new venture.
My new venture.
Or adventure.
Both. That the moment where you're so preoccupied to keep the image of being competent and smart and wise, then you also put this distance to the group that you're actually there to hold and to serve. And I think one of the things that happens is, I think one, as you say, we'll see it immediately in our embodiment. Yeah. So maybe a little bit stiff, maybe a little bit backward, and then we're less approachable by the group, but also by the words we're using.
Yeah.
And then all the jargon comes in.
Yeah, in some sense, I would say you're serving yourself then, and not the group. You're serving your own safety. And then you start to use the language that serves that, and you start to use the embodiment that serves that. So yes, I maybe, my embodiment would looking a bit like sort of strong, confident, and too serious. Well, now I can relax and I become much more flexible and playful and a little bit more like just a playful child, like we're exploring together, instead of I'm this super wise, serious. And for me, that brings much more joy to be able to connect to this sort of the free, unencumbered, how do you say this, unbothered spirit, instead of having to put on this image of like, I'm this serious, wise teacher. that will guide you on your journey.
Yes, and then it also...
and it changes the voice.
Yes.
I just did it.
Yeah. It does change the voice. I have on Unprofessionalism a podcast on voice masking. So that's a different topic. It also invites the group or gives them permission to explore. Because when we're going back to the nervous system and when we have this wise, smart, strict, serious person in front of us as a coach or as a trainer or facilitator, and then suddenly, what happens if the answer is not correct? What if I'm doing it wrong? So then the tiptoeing starts, and then our world becomes smaller. And then there's less creativity by definition.
I think in a very unaware way, you're sort of role modeling what you then expect of the participants. So apparently you need to be competent and on top of your game, and there's no room for play and exploration. I think you're always role modeling. So when you put that into the space, they will pick that up. Even if you don't say it, they will. That's what they will feel from indeed your embodiment and your voice and how you explain the exercises. And even if I explain if I introduce an exercise with a lot of teaching and details, and they will take that into how they do it. But if I present it as, hey, this is just a fun exploration, then they will step into it as, oh, I'm just exploring and having fun. But if I bring the same exercise with a lot of we are going to do something very important. It's very important that you pay attention to the details. You do the exercise very different.
How do you make sure that they do take it seriously then?
I think we do when we are in a state of play. I think that's where our best learning happens. I think it's actually very good. In Dutch, we have a word for that. It's called onbevangen.
Unbevangen.
I don't know what it is in English. It's like this sort of adventurous mindset without any worries. And then I think we really are in this place where we dare to explore things that we are not familiar with. And we are open to learning. It's like, oh, I'm discovering this. I'm noticing that. And I think it's a very enjoyable place to be. So I think it invites a different kind of taking it seriously.
And I love that. And I think it's such a good reminder. I'm thinking back to my 10-year-old niece, who is running around and totally wild and unstoppable. But when you ask her a question, then she is able to feel and to reflect and to be very clear on what's going on for her. And then almost becoming very, not serious, but very mature.
Because your experience is very important.
And I find this beautiful, just the trust that our participants, when they feel something, they will take it seriously because it matters. We don't have to tell them that it's serious or that it's important.
I think when you have this moment of really experiencing something new, like it changes something in how you feel the world, it has some meaning, it has insight, I think you automatically take it seriously without someone needing to point out that you have to take it seriously. But I truly believe that, I don't know, our nervous systems or whatever we are is always looking for what brings growth and insight, and it recognizes these golden nuggets. And it sparks joy and excitement, and then you will take it with you. You don't need to be heavily serious about it. You will take it in your pocket, and it will come back in other moments where you think back of it.
And then it's also safe to take it out, and it's safe to remember it, right? If it's connected to something fun
and what the other thing that came up for me is flow. I was wondering, maybe there's a connection to being in a state of flow where we don't feel like we are working in a very serious way, but we are totally absorbed, right? So we take it very seriously, but in a very enjoyable way without making it dry. So I have an association with serious as dry and boring.
Okay.
In my story. Or that it needs to be heavy. So serious for me has a heavy feeling to it. Well, I think things can be very serious in a very light-hearted way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Engrossing.
What would be your recommendation to a facilitator who wants to bring 10% more embodiment to their sessions? Or maybe before answering that question, why should they?
I think that loops back to keeping people in a place where they are calm and relaxed. Because when you're calm and relaxed, you are curious, you're open, you learn, you relate, and you do your best thinking. So this is a very physiological thing. When you go into stress, you become stupid and you lose your empathy. And you say all the wrong things. So I think that's a good reason to, when you work with groups, keep people in a good place where they do their best work together. And I forgot the first part of the
10%
question. 10%. I think the easiest thing to do in, say, present Western society is slowing down. Because our thinking is much faster than feeling all the sensations in the body. Mm-hmm. So just slowing down everything, like arriving in a space and taking some time to settle in, maybe inviting people to do something that makes them feel good. So personally, I always struggle a bit with people that tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. So let's take 3 breaths together. I find that difficult. But if the invitation is like, oh, look for something that makes you feel a bit more relaxed or a bit more awake, whatever it is that you need, my body knows what it needs. So then I do the stretch, or I move a bit, or I shake a bit, or maybe I really sink into my chair, like, oh, I'm really getting comfortable in my chair. To start like that, to just invite people to take a moment to just feel their bodies and see what they need before you do anything else.
Instead of assuming that we know what they need. Yeah.
Because there's a lot, I think if once you connect to your body, when you give a moment to see what you feel like, you usually also know what it is that you need. And maybe it takes a bit of practice. Yeah. So it's also a nice thing to do at home, to feel, how am I? And then to start experimenting with what makes you feel better. But I think that's already a big win, just the way you start off a session.
Yeah.
And then to take a pause here and there. If you notice that things are becoming maybe a bit stressed or people are getting distracted, to say, okay, let's take a pause and maybe take a couple breaths, or to give like some options. So not telling them what to do, but to give some suggestions, and then they can do that. Yeah. To move around the space a bit. Even just like what we said, when do you have your best ideas? Even just getting up and moving around the space for a bit before sitting down again can already make a big difference. Yeah. Because you literally get stuck when you're in a stuck seated position.
So different activities in different areas of the room if we're in the physical space.
Getting people up to move more. That's I think a quick win that fits in many different kinds of workshops, meetings. Without it being weird.
Yeah, funny enough that I have the impression that very often as soon as we bring our bodies in, it becomes a bit weird. People feel weird about the bodies.
So it depends a lot on the invitation, I think. Because I've also noticed that people basically do anything I tell them to do, and I can take it quite far, asking them to do movements they normally don't do. And if you're not weird about it yourself, and if you can embody it yourself, then people are happy to follow, because our embodiment is contagious. So if they notice that I'm totally comfortable with it, then it feels like an invitation for them to also try it. Yeah. So I think there's a lot in mastering your own comfort with different embodiments. So you can make it weird. And I try to just be very down to earth about it. And I think there's something about the language. So for me, it's harder to use embodiment when it comes wrapped in a language that I don't resonate with, which is, I would call hippie language. And there's a lot of talk about energy and chakras, and that's just not my way of making sense of the body, even though I think we talk about the same things. but we use a very different vocabulary. So I try to use words that people would use in daily life, like tension in the muscles, or how is your breath, or what do you notice? Is your heart rate high or low? Which you could say as my energy is up or down.
Yeah.
But to translate that to very tangible, practical, daily life words, and then people can relate to that. And if you give them just a small taste in like half a minute, what it can do for them, then usually they're on board. Like just giving them the taste, how easy it is to feel just a little bit less stressed by relaxing your belly. Yeah. And then they're like, oh. Yeah. now I see why it's important. Yeah. Oh, and then it makes them curious. Yeah. Or the jaws. So I think that's actually a good entry point. Just give them the experience and not talk about it too much.
And I like that I'm grateful that you pointed the language, because I think this more, air quotes, woo-woo language has also potential for disconnection and exclusion in a way that we don't know really what we're talking about. Yeah. Because, as you say, we cannot grasp energy. What is energy? Energy up, low is a judgment. Yeah. Whereas everyone can just check their breath.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I find confusing about the word like energy is it's used for so many different things. So it's like the sort of the state of activation of the nervous system. It's used for the energy in the space. It's used for emotions. So it's
sometimes even for money.
Yeah, even for money. So the same word is used for 20 different things. Yeah. And I sometimes use it too, right? I mean, I sometimes say like, oh, I felt this sudden surge of energy in my body. But then I can decompose it in what changed is that, I relaxed my legs, but my arms tensed, and I noticed that my heart rate went up. So I can sort of point to the underlying shifts in my physiology, which then for me may feel as if there's a surge of energy in my body. I feel more energized. Yeah. But I think in the end, what happens is a very tangible shift in the structure of your body and the systems. And it's a bit of an open exploration. I'm still open to the idea that there's also some sort of energy field out there that is like a bigger force in the universe. I have relaxed a lot since I left physics. First, it should all be measurable, and anything that I cannot measure doesn't exist. And I have now also opened to the idea that there might be more. But then, when I go through daily life and I talk to other people, I like to use very tangible, specific language, because it just, for me, it makes everything easier. We understand each other better. Yeah. And then it's stuff that we know from our normal daily lives.
What remains your facilitation challenge?
Oh, that's also a good question. I think the next thing to gain mastery in for me is group dynamics. I've been working a lot on the individual level. Have started to do more with groups in person. So I used to work with groups on a screen, which was less embodied for me. And now I'm doing like real embodiment workshops with groups in person, and then to not only focus on the individual learning process and discovery, but also the dynamics that might be going on in the group. So it adds another layer of awareness, I would say.
If one is triggered, how it might impact the others, or if one is slower in the process.
Yeah, even the things they say, like when does it serve the group process? So it's no longer the individual process, right? It's a group process. So when does it serve the process, and when might it interfere?
Can you give an example?
So my invitation in my workshops is for people to explore the edge, but not go over the edge. But then we all have our individual sensitivities. And it can be interesting when what one person says is slightly, I think triggering is too strong a word even, but it's slightly activating for the other person. It can be a very interesting learning. but it could also distract them from what we actually want to explore. So when does it serve our collective learning, and when is it actually derailing what we want to focus on? Because I also don't believe we need to, and I think this is different maybe from other kinds of facilitation, that we need to avoid all triggers, and because there's a lot of richness there in individual learning, group learning, the group dynamics. It also reminds me of a radical honesty workshop, which was all about triggering each other. Yes. It's like what one person does is really annoying for another, and then that person speaks out, and there was so much personal insight and growth in these moments. So then it served the group process, but in another workshop it may actually be distracting to have all of this distract from what you actually want to focus on. And I think that's what I'm feeling out at the moment. Like, when do these slight triggering moments serve it, and when do they distract?
Yeah. And that's such an important point, that it all depends on the purpose and the context. Also, how much someone shares, how much airspace, how much talking space someone would get. Is it so in some context, like the Radical Honesty workshop? And there is a podcast on Radical Honesty with our teachers, for everyone listening who is interested. It was very helpful to really give each and every one as much talking time as they needed, because it was almost like group therapy. Yeah. And under other contexts, you don't want to listen to all the inner workings of each individual, because it doesn't serve the group. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good example. Like, how much of the personal stories do you want to bring in? Yeah. And I think another way it shows up is, for instance, in this turn to your neighbor, like sharing together for a few minutes. The purpose can be that both get to talk. Yeah. And then it's good to manage the person who tends to take too much of the time, to ask them to give the space to the other person. It can also be interesting to just let them do their thing, and then ask, okay, so who was taking up more of the time? To become aware of your patterns. Yeah. So the same thing can serve two different purposes.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's a very specific example.
Yeah. What is one thing that you wish you had known before when you got started, or what is an advice you would give to your younger self?
Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Because when I first entered this space of facilitation, working with people, that was not what I learned earlier on in physics, right? So it was very challenging. And I would beat myself up. Like, I should be able to do this better and that better, and I want to fix this and change that. And then it makes it a very long, intense, hard struggle. But if I can meet that with kindness, like, oh, I'm discovering something that now makes me curious to explore that more and learn more about it and get better at it, it makes it a much more sustainable growth path. So I think, to be really kind to yourself.
Basically, to applying what you invite the participants to, right? Relax their nervous system and be playful and kind. Yeah. To be in the growth zone.
Yeah, keep yourself in the playful zone and to laugh about yourself, not taking yourself too seriously. Yeah. I think that's where we grow the most. Not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And noticing when we stop laughing. That's a good one. That's my takeaway.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mirjam.
Yeah, thank you. This was a real treat.
Yeah. That's the takeaway. Thank you for staying tuned and for listening until the very end. I hope that you found the inspiration and the wisdom that you are looking for. And I hope that you will subscribe to the show so that you never miss any of the interviews with another inspiring facilitator from across the world. I'm devoted to continue this podcast and to deliver weekly an episode that maintains the quality that you expect and you deserve. And if you would like to help me to maintain this quality and to keep the podcast free, please help us. Visit workshops.work/support to make a small donation to keep the podcast free. Thank you so much. I hope to be in your ears next week.